Yeah, you don't want to cancel it. Let's see. The bowling alley? We're still working on financing. Hopefully breaking ground soon. We're supposed to meet, they're supposed to meet on it today to decide kind of thing. So we'll see. We'll see. I just wish it would get going already. I'm a right now kind of a person.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. There's still some donuts and juice back there, so feel free to get up when you want and help yourself. Did everyone sign and sheet get around to everyone? Before we get started, the first thing we're going to do today is dig into our school city assessment data. If you don't have any school city assessment data, I'll have the district data up here so that we can kind of get a general feel for where your students might have fallen. Okay. Before we get going, there's some new faces today. So I just want to go around the room, introduce yourself, what school you are at, and so everybody knows everybody. So we just want to start at this table, work our way around.
Leslie Allred at Belmont Elementary. Pamela Alfonso at Bradford. Karen Lang over at Morton. Molly Crow, Carlisle.
Alphaletty, Sunset Park.
Joseph Wood, good night, elementary.
Stacy Freeman at Heroes Elementary.
Lisa Schneider at Columbia.
Andrew Watson at East.
Dan Wiley, East. Chris Herron, instrumental at Heroes.
Kayla Garcia at Heaton.
Becca Clock at South.
Keith Johnson, Risley.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to start digging into the data. You will need your device for this. So if you could get onto, I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to start here on the Symbaloo page if you want to follow along with me. And as we start digging in this data, I'm going to walk you through where you can find all the data. But I want to give you a little bit of time to really kind of dig into that data as for your specific school. Jot some notes down. The information that you see today, this morning, you'll be able to use later this morning as you're planning for quarter 2. You're doing some unit planning. The Symbaloo page, you're going to click on the assessment tab. We should all be familiar with that now that we've administered School City for the first time. How did it go? Wasn't too terrible, right? You know, yeah, from most of the feedback I've received, it wasn't so much, we didn't really have any issues with School City. All of our issues had to do with operator error, right? Kids not knowing their login, clicking the wrong things, you know, clicking submit before they were done, that kind of stuff. So I think as we get going through this, that'll be quite a bit easier. And then you'll click on School City Stars, the top left, and go ahead and log in with your credentials.
Should be first name. Yeah, it's his first name. Different than I realized. This is more. I just guess I'm telling you. Yeah,
And then you should be able to log in with your regular credentials. School city people came in here and now it doesn't look right.
You like this? They're also onboarding yeah, like my heroes business. Well, they're all benchmark kids though, so they go really fast.
Okay. We're at
That's probably where my heroes kids can play. That Irving band is like an anomaly. Whatever. Fortunately, they can play a really cool song.
Okay, so mine's looking a little different this morning. Typically, I have what you have as far as Launchpad, reports, assessment up at the top of the screen. So what you're going to want to do is click on reports. That's where we're going to live today. And for whatever reason, mine's not coming up. So when you go into reports, you're going to have a lot of different choices here. You're going to have test results, student response, standard analysis, objective analysis. We'll go ahead and start with the test results. Bless you. I'm going to go ahead and restart my computer and just kind of talk you through it and see why mine's not coming up. Okay, so for example, here's what you're going to be looking at when you're looking at this part of the data. So on the left, under whatever you're looking at, you're going to have the number and percentage of students tested right up here, followed by the number of students that receive each different classification of performance level. So in 5th grade, so what you're seeing here on mine is district. Okay, so what I noticed throughout is that typically we're pretty purple, which is great because right now the ELA and math folks are sitting there looking at big red cherries. So our kids are coming in because our standards scaffold. They're already understanding a lot of the stuff that is in this current year's grade level standards. So we even have some students that have already met expectations and exceeded expectations in the 5th grade. I'm going to change the assessment to 11th grade. So you guys can see how they did district-wide while you're looking at your own. The pie is also interactive, so if you want to click on hover over the color of the pie, it will give you some information there as well. So as a district, this is where we're sitting in high school. So we have almost 70% of our kiddos that tested that are partially met expectations. We have a pretty big chunk of students of that, about 20% are at least approached, which makes sense because we work off the same standards for 4 years, so they already have been being taught those standards for the last 2 years. We'll go to the 8th grade so you guys can see district, what that looks like too as you're looking at your own. So here's our 8th graders. Pretty typical, right? I think across the board we look right about the same. 2nd grade. This is also pretty typical, and one of the things too is this is the first time that 2nd graders a lot of time maybe were in School City, so we have to kind of look at that as a factor as well. I think we're going to see a big jump in the 2nd grade percentages for the middle of year assessment, and I think too because they do start using School City for ELA and math, that you're gonna see just them being more comfortable with the technology. Like the performance levels? We didn't. So last spring we came together and we looked at the old ones. Mm-hmm. Right. And so what we did in the spring is we came together during Friday PDs and the teachers built the tests. And so what we're going to do then at the end of the year, we're going to go back through and really look at those, look at the language in them too, because I think some of the 2nd grade language could be simplified even more so that they understand.
That's the year where I saw most growth out of any grade level.
With the second?
Second grade,
Mm-hmm.
because they really start to figure things out. So it looks like that now, but it won't at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So they learn a lot that year.
And they're expected to do a lot more
Yeah.
in their other classes as well. Okay, so from here, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. This would be more for if you want to dig into this, but as a group, we won't. If you click on the student response tab, you could go through. Now, this is going to come up district. So I'm in second grade. I have 633. So please do this one on your own. Click on your student response, and you'll be able to see for each student what their score is, what their percentage correct is, and how they responded on each question. I wonder if that's that homeroom. So you're seeing their homerooms, because if they're attached
Yeah,
to
mine
you in
was-
Infinite Campus, you will see every test they've taken.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because mine came up on ELA.
Okay, so secondary folks, make sure that you're seeing the music scores, because if they're attached to you in Infinite Campus, you will see every school city assessment that they've taken, whether it be ELA, math, science, whatever. So this is good for you as far as how can I reach that kid? What is that kid struggling with? This would be a good place to take a look at how they answered, and they'll even show you how they answered, and you can do that as a group too, and I'll show you that. Let's play with this one right here, the next one. It's the standards analysis. When you click on standard analysis, it's going to take the standard and break it up for you in a nice little bar graph, and then down below by student. So what this graph is showing is the percentage of your students that got the standard itself, and at the end is how many questions on these questions are doing. So if I'm a teacher, this is a really simple way to say, okay, so my kids have a pretty good handle right now on 1-3, on 3-3B. Okay, this is grade, GLE, evidence. And you can click on that and it'll say what question this is. But as a teacher, I would say only 10% of my kids are doing well on this standard. So I'm going to let you kind of click around there for a second. I'll give you about 5 minutes to look at your particular bar graph. And then
The problem was the one that came in the lowest was like vocabulary, but it's because it was multi-response. You had to click like 3 different answers. So I think they just didn't know how to do the question. I don't think it was that they didn't know. So I asked them what those mean. They all know they mean.
some of these, it'll be very obvious why they're so low. So for example, 5th grade, you might have, as far as reading base class, that standard is going to be very low because the 5th grade standard they have a requirement.
So to have that way up would be kind of rare. So a lot of this should be, kind of expected, right? And then down below, you can go by student. You can also sort that. And you have the highest ones first, or the lowest scores sorted first. However you want to sort it.
Loads this year, well, the marker.
Yeah, I have to go to the same. Yeah, I should be the only one. All of them are mine.
So if you're just kind of hanging out, taking a look, you can also look at mine too.
Second grade, so on the second grade assessment, typically, this one I have was low across the district. This can kick you step skip in the atomic scale. So when you're thinking about unit planning, when we get to not later, okay, if my kids are struggling with pentatonic scale, how can we incorporate that into our course?
So really jot some notes as you're finding some things, because one of the things that we're going to look at when you're unit planning is this is great that we have data. It's wonderful that we have it, but if we don't do anything with the data, what's the point of collecting the data?
Like if you had to answer with going over, do you guys have problems with that? Because everything else is pretty even, and then all of a sudden these are down. That's because they had to like key into like 4 different things. It's the same thing. My margin are it's easier.
Yeah, that's what I told them.
Yeah.
I was like,
Because when it was just one response, everything's almost the same. When they get the answer,
well, I
like,
really didn't have any expectations. Because I didn't, like, what they retweeted from last year.
I just don't think they understood how to do those.
It was one of those where, yeah, if I could.
Oh, so starting that next week, I scale it to multiple majors. Yeah, we're just gonna do a scale. Yeah, I wish I had.
Yes, Caleb.
How's it going?
Yeah. I know. It's much advanced. Might not make a huge difference,
Yes. Enjoyed the showcase Monday. I got lost in
Yeah. Sorry, everyone's here.
like Harrison. So I got a question. Start making comments. I
That's a great I know
There's six. Yeah, we're
He likes where he's at. I sure likes helping out with Martin
Yeah, it should be.
That's all like foreign.
I don't think it's one. They all should be based off of our. I'm not sure where they
It's all
get
like
that.
too bad when we
Yeah.
He's like Garen got the salary when I was a sophomore. They started marching in for that. They are forced to.
That's right.
Yeah, he refused. He said, I will not.
Primarily, most of these are schedule one, schedule three. Most of these are schedule three. I think we had one on part two, administration. And four, we had one or two. No, it's right. Hey, Cindy. It's maybe the abbreviation here. We don't have 8 stairs. We have 8, 3, 2, we have 7.
Grade level.
Grade level? So grade level, standard, GLE, okay. So we have 8th grade.
Okay, so if we want to move to, I'm going to skip feedback cards. I don't like those. They're not really relevant. You can look into item analysis. So when you go here, you can actually look at each standard, how they answered it, what the correct answer is, and then really how they answered it, how most of your kids answered it. So to explain coding here, got the first number is the grade level standard. So this first one is second grade, standard 3, grade level expectation 1, evidence outcome A. And if you hover it over it, the evidence outcome is the one that pops up there. So using vocabulary for pianoforte, crescendo, decrescendo, etc. What might be helpful here is to know if you had, okay, so I'm looking at second grade, and I'm going to go through, and this is going to pop out at me that 10.3% of second graders got this one correct or incorrect. So recognize and demonstrate appropriate audience behavior in a live performance. So now I'm going, okay, why are they getting that wrong? Well, almost half of them picked A. And that's when you can go back and look at A and go, okay, is there something wrong with the test? Is there something wrong with the wording? What do we need to fix there? So that's really good information, I think, to have. And then the demographics profile, you can go through and filter and sort the data based on certain demographics. So you can do it by ethnicity. If they're an English language learner, you can do it by gender, by their language, if they're how your ESS students are doing, and gifted and talented students, how are they doing? So for example, if I were to just click off of that, I want to see how our GT kids are doing. You can see how they're doing. Mine doesn't go all the way. Being plugged into this, it turns out. So I'll give you about 3 minutes to play with that demographics profile and look at your different subgroups of students. See how they did. Second graders, girls and boys, were about the same. So Brooke, I'll go into high school a little bit so you can kind of see how people fared here. So our guys outperformed our girls on this one. I don't think that's typically the girls outperform the guys. In 11th grade, our guys are outperforming the girls by a little bit. And our English language learners are close. Why? Because music is universal. So that's something that we can, you know, when we're talking to our administrators, we're reaching these kids and they're able to do what everyone else is doing without crazy modifications. Right? And same thing for our ESS students. Look at how our ESS students district-wide.
Right.
Right.
I didn't realize I had that many. I just say yes to everyone. Anyone wants to be in the we'll figure it out.
I noticed that CIS, although we tested both grades, they were tested on
I'm not gonna really ask questions.
You know, we
There's no way. I got too much other stuff. It'll start to sound like a weekend. Some easier music. They're having success. I kicked a couple out.
That was my mistake. Part of it is I got my.
Oh, I did the same thing.
2.5. They were reading 2
If they're rhythmically, if they're 1 and 2, they can go in. I've left an awful but I have like I've made sure I pick ones where they're always in it's not ideal. It's the hardest.
Yeah, I decided. I mean, I don't like
Yeah, I don't get to a lot of trouble.
That's the nice thing about music, is they're not gonna guess right. You know, they either know it or they don't.
I want to guess very well. I feel like it's 2 minutes to get a test instead of 40 minutes.
Okay, and then the last tab,
Pretty good.
the last tab, I'm not gonna click on my end because I can see all schools. But in the summary tab, you can see how your school did compared to the district. So that's just good information to see how you're kind of going up against the average, how you're against the average. Like I said, I won't do that because mine shows every school. So think about, talk about this in your table the next few minutes. Now that you have the data, what do you do with it? Standards, evidence, outcomes are your kids struggling with that you can address when you get into the unit planning. And then two, what I'm going to be thinking about this afternoon is those kids that have met expectations and have exceeded expectations. How do we show growth with that? What do we do with them so that they can still learn and that they just haven't got checked out for the rest of the year because they're like, we're great already, right? So just with your table, what are you doing with the data now that you have it? What are your plans, your initial plans?
Scale.
Here's always good money.
And reading rhythms.
I do, when you're trying to do so much rhythm for like our mandatory, so.
Yeah, we've been using that for teammates a little bit.
How does that work?
It's really well.
Really well?
I can send you a link of where you can off if you don't have to use it. Do you have enough?
Full set.
See, I have like 1,000. So and I found a website. Yep. All of the ones that are lower.
Transcribe. That's the there's 16 months.
Yeah, rhythms. It's all rhythms. All the low ones are rhythms. Those are rhythms. The responses really well. Scales.
Corresponding tech teachers.
Yeah, we were high on that. We were 47%.
We're at 88.
To have it randomized because when the answer came up, it was in the order.
They are also really strong.
So really, it is not I guess.
Comparing to
Yeah, they
pieces.
Yeah, all my struggles were rhythms and scales.
On the order. Okay. So that one that you just need the analysis. Yeah, that's all the order.
Scale.
Well, at all, but that was kind of those multi.
Yeah.
I just,
I think that's, I mean, I would agree with that. A lot of the time it was.
Cindy, we had a lot of problems with questions where they had to answer multiple. Like, they had to click one, because there's like, they're fairly even, and then there's like a gigantic.
Yeah. So like the question 13 and 7 for me are both even 8%.
Yeah, mine are all.
So this one here was order,
Yeah.
order the, I think it was the dynamics.
I know
Solid to last.
See, my
but the
kids,
district is
They know that,
45.3.
yeah.
they know it, I just don't think they knew how to answer the question.
Because I
Because
do,
it-
I do
because
a
it would be-
pre-test, post-test on that in my classes, so I know my kids know that. They do. I have that data. That data doesn't match this data.
So when you're looking at the assessment itself, if there's a better way I can word that question,
Is there a way we can look at the assessment?
Like, they-
somewhere. I haven't been able to find
I do
it.
understand, but
What if you could find the actual assessment?
right.
It's just supposed to change.
Right,
Well,
well,
what about that?
when they have good performances, I like don't even worry about that. I like do really quick and then answer. Just move on.
That's the
That's,
I think over the next
That's
summer,
not
like a day,
I've been able to do one, so they would start off once quickly, show what it was.
start on skills.
it's,
When I
it's
click on district,
I mean, they
weird
start
that we're
knowing their
not,
skills.
that those questions are so low.
Like, they
They know
really
what
don't
those
know
words
them.
are, 'cause they do that.
And they're on the wall. All of the ones that
Their
they know.
vocabulary is pretty good, they know.
And then it require you to know the keys, because it's movable though. It doesn't matter what that we start on the phone. We have like, major, harmonic minor, melodic minor, math minor.
Yeah,
I'll go
'cause
after
that's just, 'cause
I'd like to
it's such a
teach them
sharp
skills.
drop off.
Yeah.
In results of those two questions.
and when something like that happens, then instead of saying our kids don't know, we say
That's
what's wrong with
only
you?
tested.
Yeah.
Those skills are only tested in all state jazz.
All right, I have 9 o'clock, take a 10-minute break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna get into the technology apps discussion and get into some of that stuff. Restrooms, women's right here, men's around the corner. So I'm gonna run upstairs and I will see.
Okay, yeah, well, we have to figure out what's going on. That's weird. Because everywhere else, there was, yeah, anywhere from, mine were anywhere from 11 to 40%. They were all right there and all of a sudden it's
When that's
flashes.
Yeah,
I went from 11 or down to 5. Yeah, that's a testing problem.
I've been able to turn on, try to do it.
Well, Irving is on a totally different spending list. They don't have a professional development. But they have Monday. That's fine. I'll get things done. Yeah, it's There was a lesson.
It's been Franklin. I don't think
It should, there.
unless they were forced to make it.
No, I think that's just, high school.
You know what happens when it's not good? I send them the next
Here's mine. See,
I broke a friend. It's how
Right. I've been able to, I found it once, I just don't remember where.
And you know, I found it once on the teacher page when it was open. Now that the window was closed, I can't find it.
And so I think that's the wording on it. Both of our facial layers. Oh, I'm not sixth grade standard. I'm wondering if it's really largest space should
Yeah. Okay, so like. He's like, well, what if we switch around some rehearsals? Oh, still nothing's gonna work. I just want you to so if I come to the rehearsal, I will drop it. My lungs are bleeding from all the insulation. Yeah. Actually, that last mic is your leverage. See, if the choir, they don't even put the test, they just put one of those funky rest symbols, and it scares the notes, watch it. How's it going? Oh, no, that's
Would you say?
Oh,
We tried.
I think something that's going to fix this is if you do say that same. High school, elementary, middle school, what are the kids are receiving? Middle school to high school, what are the kids are receiving? And then high school to college, we can talk about things like that. We can talk about what we need to help with. Because your program produces for music educators, music degrees that Ray does. You think of all the kids that go to college campus. Last year, the last couple of years. I mean, out of my class, I at least 2 of us became music teachers. I think it's relegated. Oh, shit. It's just like our kids ready to be our kids don't need t-shirts. They should as musicians, but they don't need to. It doesn't affect them like it affects an instrumentalist. You know, I mean, if I play we can see C sharp, we can see E and B. You put that from the instrumentals, they're going to need time. You know, and it's just the advantages and disadvantages. Oh yeah, if I do it, they can mimic it.
I don't know how
But I know I use Stafford to write a book. Seriously. Music classes, this music, it is music.
All right, so let's come back together. All right, so last year in our end of year meeting, we had a discussion about what you guys needed, what you wanted as far as professional development for this year. And there were a lot of people who said, I want to know more about technology apps that we can use in our classroom and how to incorporate that. So I wanted to spend some time, and I know some of you are very well versed in this. And so I thought that we would have a discussion really just between colleagues as far as what you use in your classroom, some things that I have found that are useful, and then just kind of go from there. So this hour, however long it is, I think it's till 10 o'clock, is really just about you guys kind of sharing and really kind of exploring
what certain technology apps can do and how you can use them in your classroom. So before I let you guys go as far as sharing, what I'm going to give each table toward the end, this is an exit ticket for just this session because we're going to do some unit planning afterward. But I want to know what you guys are going to use, what you found useful, what technology apps you found useful. I'm going to collect these, and I'd like to put these two on the intranet site under instructional materials so that there's a bank of resources that you all know to go to use. Okay, so that'll be coming around toward the end. Before we split up, let's go into the Fine Arts intranet page, and I'll show you where those are going to be housed, because I did put some in there already for you to take a look at if you needed some starter apps to talk about in your table. So to get to the intranet, from the Symbaloo page on part intranet sites, it's the first link. And then you'll click on Learning Services. It's the third button from the left. And then you'll see all tabs of our content at the top. Click on Fine Arts in the middle there. And then we have our intranet page. For those of you who haven't seen this yet, I'm trying to make it to where it's a one-stop shop resource for you guys. If you see anything that you would like on there that would help you, let me know and I'll pop it in there. For this particular mini session, all of the technology apps you can find under the instructional wheel, under instructional materials. So if you click on instructional materials, I have a list of technology resources. And so what I'd like you to do is, if you need a starter, if you need some starter apps to start talking about at your table, they're all interactive links, so you can click on them and they will either take you to the actual website or to like maybe a YouTube tutorial video, because maybe it's an app that you have to get through iTunes Store, so they don't really have a website. Okay. P-Score is a free score reading, PDF score reading app. Secondary folks might really like this because it can replay sheet music. I know some of you all copy music. I mean, oops, I have that on. I know some of you, because the originals will get lost, right? So you copy them and then you destroy them after you're done. And we know that that happens, right? So what this does is you can actually load a PDF into your iPad that the kids have. So if you don't have a class set of iPads, go to Donors Choose. Go to Donors Choose and get some. It's my son's teacher this year did a class set of iPads. She got it funded in a couple months, just from people all over. So think about that. You can load the PDFs right in there. They've got like an air turn, so they can just do this and it turns for them, turns the page for them. They could put in notes. Like if you say, you know, the LUS, what a lot of, you know, look up stupid. That's what our band director used to say, write LUS in your score. And so you can actually put in your own annotations. If a kid wants to practice, if they know that they're struggling in a particular place, they can highlight it so they can go back later and practice it. So that might be something you want to take a look at. Notate Me Now is an easy composition app for kids. You can handwrite it and it will create that in a nice like finale sort of, you know, professional looking sort of manuscript. The Music Interactive, elementary mostly. You might be familiar with Staff Wars, Bouncy Balls, lots of different, I mean, they have like 30 different games and things, rhythmic dictation, melodic dictation. It's all housed on the Music Interactive. No, especially if you can get into a computer lab or give kids their own device. Hey, get into your media center and schedule it. You got to just get in and say, I need them on this day. And then musictheory.net, I like that for secondary. Gives good practice. Okay. And that's a huge, I mean, we never did that in school as keyboard identification. But with our new standards, how helpful is that when you're having to teach whole step, half step, you know, just knowing the keyboard or the frets, just that makes things so much easier when you're teaching those kids that. And then I have a couple of classroom management ones, if you're interested in any of those. The Class Dojo, a lot of elementary folks might find this helpful. You guys know the color chart, right? You got your green, you're ready to learn, and then you either clip up or clip down. This is like that, but it's all based on technology, and parents can sign up for an account. And I mean, I could even show you that on my phone if you're interested, because my son is doing it now. I can go in every day and see what he clipped up and clipped down for. You can send notes, you can send posters, so events are coming up, and it goes right to the parents' smartphone. And then Bouncy Ball, Stacy Freeman from Hero showed me this. It's really cool. It's just interactive, like little, you can make them bubbles or balls or whatever, and they're just on your screen, and they monitor noise level. So the kids can see if they're too loud, the balls bounce higher, and so you can have them kind of monitor themselves as far as volume when you have them doing things that are, that are more free. Okay, so there's some that you can start off with. You have about 40 minutes to play, and that's all we're doing during this time is play and exploration. And please share what you use in your classroom with your colleagues and what you have found useful, and fill out your exit ticket on those so I can add those to our bank of technology resources. And I'll be walking around to see what you guys are doing. And then Keith, are you joining us?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over there.
I was gonna say I need to use my. I walked over there. I'm not. They think that they can do it.
My computer is here. I can just turn press and it's.
See, mine's too far away. Philip didn't design this for technology. Yeah. Yeah, mine's over in the corner. Mine takes
Basically getting all this stuff.
Right. That would be nice. I don't have a full whiteboard. It's over in the corner. You can't even